Welcome to Pensar Basketball Live. That was tough, but it was predictable. It was very predictable. The New York Knicks are not as great a team as you might assume that they are. They are a team that has atrocious interior defense. They are a team that lacks depth. Just recently getting back Precious Achiuwa. Prior to that, they were doing everything in their power to just weather the storm without Mitchell Robinson. This is a team that absolutely has a ton of issues. And when Jalen Brunson went out, it looked like really tough times for the New York Knicks. Elephant in the room, Scotty Barnes goes down with an ankle injury after landing on the foot of Karl-Anthony Towns. We'll certainly talk about that. Jakob Poeltl had a career high and looked amazing. I've often compared him to a pair of two of my favorite Knicks of all time, which is Latrell Sprewell and Allen Houston, and he certainly looked the part of Latrell Sprewell tonight. He was really good. I'm trying not to be too bearish about this. I did make a proclamation yesterday on X that I do believe that Davion Mitchell is about to turn around his season. I wasn't trolling. I wasn't kidding, and I wasn't wrong. Davion Mitchell looked fantastic in relatively. He looked really good tonight. I think he was really just a lot more sure and a lot more confident. He made a huge play down the stretch, pair of huge plays down the stretch, a layup. He had a three-pointer from the corner on an RJ Barrett drive and kick. And then he also had that huge play to stop Jalen Brunson in transition. If Davion Mitchell can stop being a negative on offense, his defense is very much a above average trait for a backup guard in the NBA. The Raptors starters won their minutes tonight. The Raptors were up when Scotty Barnes was on the court, and Scotty himself had a bit of a mixed game. We're not going to try to, ride him too hard. He's obviously injured, and we wish him well. But I don't think he had the greatest first half. But man, in the second half, he really started to dial it up in that third quarter. He came out, scored 8 points in that third quarter. And then, as these things go, boom, an injury. I think Kelly Olynyk had some really good moments tonight. I think the Raptors lost Karl-Anthony Towns way too often down late. But there's this old adage that down the stretch, right? When you don't have the best player on the court, you don't want to be in a close game. You just generally don't want to be in that situation. And I tuned into a Raptors Twitter space at the halftime, and Molly, a voice of reason in Raptors land, I wish she had a podcast sometimes. She was saying, the way the whistle is going, I don't want to be in a tight game against this team. We need to be up 10 with 2 minutes to go. And where were we? We were deadlocked. And then Jalen Brunson just made play after play after play. And you realize that there's a gap. There's a gap between Jalen Brunson and whatever you had on your end creating offense, right? Which is generally RJ Barrett, Jakob Poeltl, Davion Mitchell, these guys. And again, when it comes down to precision, processing, court processing, all these things become even more relevant in tight situations. Tight situations like late clock situations, tight situations like when defenses dial up in the fourth quarter and the Raptors double Jalen Brunson, pick them to death, pick them apart. Okay. Now, there's probably a broader conversation that needs to happen at some point in this live, which is where do the Raptors go from here, right? Losers of now 3 straight. You lose the 3 tough games on your schedule. You do have some quote unquote winnable games coming up, but now without Scotty Barnes, how winnable are those games? When will Emmanuel Quickley come back? Will Emmanuel Quickley and Scotty Barnes come back at the same time? You just finally got Kelly Olynyk back. He's looked pretty damn good so far. JLA Media saying, Rob, you need to be better with these takes. Jacoby is nowhere near Latrell Sprewell. Well, opinions, man. I watched Latrell growing up. I see a lot of Latrell in Jakob Poeltl. Maybe I'm wrong. That's all good. Perfectly fine. Nobody's saying Davion Mitchell is playing too many minutes. Well, I think he played pretty well tonight. Wouldn't you agree? Jacoby keeps the scoring up. He's going to lap Gradey. Honestly, good thing is they both play together. You didn't get a super great game from Gradey or Ochai tonight. Let's take a look at what happened. As you can see, the Raptors were right there, neck and neck, fourth quarter. You can't ask for more than that, okay? You win the starter minutes. You lose the bench minutes. They don't really play their bench because their starters play 41 minutes a night. They needed to win this game, and they won it. They were super efficient. They got whatever the hell they wanted offensively. They shot 51.2% from the field, 42.5% from three. The Raptors lost shooters repeatedly. The Raptors did limit their turnovers in the first half, but in the second half, it was a completely different story. Take a look at the team stats. And that should tell you the story, right? A little bit. The Raptors got on the offensive glass, man. They killed them on the offensive glass. 17 offensive rebounds was what kept the Raptors in this game. And the fact that they were winning that turnover margin until late, and a lot of late. They lived in the paint, 56 points in the paint. Scotty got in there. Gradey got in there. Yak got in there. Mobo got in there. I thought Mobo was really underrated tonight. Jacoby got in there. Everybody got in the paint. The Knicks are like, I'm going to say something that's going to get me canceled, so let me just not say it. But let's just say everybody had their turn, okay? And the Raptors have 23 assists tonight. That's usually not a good mark for success for the Raptors. Typically, that's not Darko ball. That's more ISO ball. They do lull you into that. They are a really poor defensive team. I mean, really, they are. Okay, you got whatever the hell you wanted in the paint. There was no help. If it wasn't on OG and it wasn't on Mikal, it wasn't a stop, right? This is not a team, in my opinion, that is going to contend for a championship. I really don't see it. So you can sell yourself on it right now because it makes you feel good, but I don't think this is, again, this is my ex-hometown team. I don't see a championship team on the court. And overall, the Raptors got a huge contribution off the bench from Jakob Poeltl, including a near 4-point play, which he smoked, unfortunately, the free throw. And I mean, he finally hit some threes. That was the story, right? He's been shooting miserably from three. And you're just like, will it come around? Will it come around? He's not gun shy. He led all bench players in plus minus. He had 19 points on 12 shots, 7 threes, got to the line 5 times. Really just do whatever the hell you want, Jacoby. And it's ironic because he hits that and one on the 3-point attempt, and he had an almost identical one in the G League a few games ago. Jonathan Mobo, again, a typical Jonathan Mobo game, right? You just take it for granted. 3 offensive rebounds, no problem. No problem. 3 offensive rebounds, 7 boards, 6 points, right? 2 assists. I don't necessarily think he was like great this game, but he had great moments. I thought Davion Mitchell wasn't great this game, but he had great moments. And Kelly Olynyk wasn't great this game, but he had great moments. He had some good playmaking. He had that really interesting turnaround jumper. I can't remember on who, but we'll definitely look at it in the game film. So Ash saying the Knicks going to sue you. Get in line. Okay. All right. For the Knicks side, of course, I thought the Raptors guarded Josh Hart pretty poorly tonight, and I'm really surprised that he only had 10 points. But Jalen Brunson ends up with 20. He left the game in the third quarter, came back around the 6-minute mark of the fourth quarter. They were really sputtering those minutes, and I'm pretty sure that I wasn't exactly sure what was wrong with him, but I'm pretty sure if the Knicks were leading by a comfortable amount, he might not have come back. But clearly, with Cameron Payne in the game, things were not going as well as Tom Thibodeau would have liked, so they decided to bring him back at the 6-minute mark, and that's right around when the game completely changed for the Knicks, right? The dynamic of the game completely changed. Karl-Anthony Towns was brilliant. He's actually been brilliant all year. If you're just looking at offense, he had 24 points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. I don't even think his defense was so terrible tonight. It's just that their team scheme is so bad, and that's surprising because they were a really good defense last year. But this year, they are a great offense. And they looked like it tonight. Okay. OG Anunoby against the Sex team, 14 points. And Mikal Bridges had 23. Okay. We looked at the team stats. Let's take a look at some of the game film breakdown. This is not going to be the most detail-oriented film breakdown. I didn't take too many clips this time around. Sahaj saying their depth is thin. That is an understatement, man. How are you guys doing? Let's do it. Let's do a check on Raptor fans right now. It's not easy, man. Like, you're in this game, you get this really decent game from RJ Barrett. We didn't even talk about RJ Barrett. He had 30 points. He had 30 points on, I think it was like 23, 24 attempts. I mean, overall, I think RJ was designed to be successful in a game against against a weak interior defense like this. And he, to his credit, he made 3 3-pointers. I think he made one from the left corner, one from above the break, one from the right corner, if I remember correctly. And then he just lived in the paint. He had a couple turnovers late, but overall, you live with it. Okay. I think overall he played a decent game. I think defensively is where I think, I have an issue with RJ. Like losing, we're going to take a look at some of the film late, like just again, a little too laxed on Karl Anthony Towns, man. You got to know that's a guy who's going to shoot. Now, this again, Jakob Poeltl, right? The gift that keeps on giving, right? Just, and this is Karl Anthony Towns. Like, look at this defense. Like, he is an abysmal defender. The fact that you don't shoot better against this team is largely because you smoked like what felt like 25 layups today, and we'll take a look at them. But in a game that comes down to a couple of possessions, you really do understand, like earlier on, how many times did we smoke, here's Scotty Barnes, Mikal Bridges a little bit late, makes the three. Mikal and OG had their okay. So here is RJ versus, and you're going to see good offense from RJ, and you're going to see some questionable defense from RJ, right? So first of all, great playmaking by Karl Anthony Towns, sort of faking that jump shot. And here, RJ just, it's too easy. First of all, you're under the rim against a stronger player. This is going to be hard, no matter how you stripe it. No matter how you do it. But you gotta be sound, right? You can't get moved off your spot this easily. First of all, second of all, you can't get beat to the spot this easily because he back cut him to death. And then the third thing is you can't be gambling, right? Because OG is pump faking and you're gambling, and it's just not going to work. And this is just way too easy. It's way too easy. And honestly, I had a lot of issues with Scotty's defense in the first half as well. I don't think he played great defensively. There were a couple blow bys where it was just a little too easy. Here's another example of, this is RJ sort of dying on this screen here. Okay. And again, just too late. Gregory saying, Alexander in the chat, let us know that Scotty's x-rays are negative via Blake Murphy on X. Just double checked. I would love to understand more what that means exactly. Did he or did he not sprain his ankle? Or are they negative for something else? Like, someone help me understand that. I'm not a doctor, and I do not play one on YouTube. So if anyone has like a more detailed understanding of this, Scotty is obviously not new to rolled ankles. He's done it quite a few times. There we go. Terry would know. Perfect. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I was expecting any fractures, but a sprain is a sprain. A sprain is not a fracture. And so there we go. Well, it's not a tweak, it's a sprain. And a sprain is not a break of the bone. So naturally, if they can rule out that there's nothing broken, that's great. It's good. But a sprain is still a sprain. Key M said a Twitter doctor said he might need surgery. She was exaggerating, but almost had a heart attack. Bingo. So yeah, sprains are graded 1 through 3, and I think Scotty has shown a history of being able to play through them, number one, and recover remarkably quickly through them. I'm going to knock on wood there. If I'm not mistaken, the ankle sprain that he sustained against, if you look at his injury timeline, this is not the first time this has happened. I think this might be the third or fourth time this has happened. So there was the ankle sprain against Miami, where he rolled his ankle on a drive, and then there was the Joel Embiid one as a rookie, right? So he's not injury prone. He's just a very active player who runs a lot and is a large human being. So generally speaking, like, yeah, I mean, if any human being had done what he had done on that play, or if any human being had had Joel Embiid step on their ankle, do you know what I mean? If any human being had had, Nikola Jokic whack their elbow in his face, any human being would sustain those injuries, right? I don't necessarily know if we call those people injury prone, more like a little unlucky is what I would say. Pretty light schedule next 10 days or so, so that's good. Mm, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it's pretty light, but I understand what you're saying. So it is Chicago, Miami, and Brooklyn, which is relatively light to the three games it's just played. But we also understand that the Raptors are fully capable of losing those games, right? We do understand that. Okay, continuing on. Yeah, I just did not think that this is like Jakob is just standing there, right? He's not going to offer any sort of resistance. RJ Barrett just sort of dies on the screen. And OG Anunoby is just way too good a 3-point shooter to give that much space to. All right. And this one, RJ with the nice little response here, right? And it was 8 points to start, first by Gradey, then by Scotty, and then by RJ. So your core three, main guys get involved in the play early. Again, man, this play, great to get past Mikal Bridges, but you got to finish this. You got to dunk this, man. Like, he was not the only person to smoke wide open layups. Okay. Davion Mitchell checks in, and I was curious. So here is, I mean, I wanted to have this recorded yesterday. Okay. I said, I have a feeling, please don't flame me. I'm not being sarcastic. That Davion Mitchell is about to turn his season around starting tomorrow. This means he's going to be better managing possessions. Check. Better, marginally better shooting the ball. I mean, he shoots like he shot tonight. He's way better shooting the ball. Better finding offense around the rim. Check. Better rebounding the basketball. Don't remember. Better with off-ball defensive reads. Mixed bag. Going to continue being a pest on the ball. Hell yeah. And continue control some of his fouls. I don't really think that foul on Jalen Brunson should have counted as an and one. That's just me. But yes. Okay. So that being said, he hits his first three. And by the way, he would later hit his second three. And I made sure, to because some people are absolutely convinced that I hate Davion Mitchell. I do not. I made absolutely sure to, catalog all of his good plays tonight. And this is, great. You need him to do this. No hesitation. Just make it. Okay. And here, Jonathan Mobo and, again, JMO is going to draw two for some reason, Miles McBride and OG Anunoby. And Jalen Brunson, terrible off-ball awareness. Jakob Poeltl, smart to cut behind the defender. OG Anunoby. And look at this little thing that Jonathan Mobo does, holding OG's hand. This is a vet move, bro. This is a vet move. Okay. First, he has his leg hooked. Okay. Look at Jonathan Mobo and OG Anunoby. So when Jonathan Mobo sends this off, right? I'm going to slow this down. Just watch how he makes sure that OG does not get back into this play. This is actually pretty legendary shit. So he makes this pass, and then he grabs OG's arm so that OG can't recover. And so Jacoby pump fakes this, and he is not going to smoke his layup around the rim, and he's going to make it. Small little things that Jonathan Mobo does, right? Now here, Kelly Olynyk has a defensive beast named Precious Achua. Easiest shot of the night. Okay. And up until that point, Kelly Olynyk had not missed this season. He did eventually miss one late, but yeah. Speaking of missed layups, okay. Unfortunately, this play involves Davion. If this hurts your feelings, I apologize in advance. But Scotty Barnes, great pass. Davion Mitchell, you cannot smoke this. That's Deuce McBride. Deuce McBride is not a good defender, and he is not a center. You cannot be missing open layups in the NBA. And, here, you want to keep the criticism balanced, Jonathan Mobo, you can't miss this, okay? This is open. This is a wide open layup. You just got to dunk this. You got to go up and dunk this. You cannot try to be cute around the rim. And if you want to count, that is 6 points. You lose by 5 tonight, and I have shown you already 6 wide open points that you just gave up. Those points are backbreakers. They are the types of points that absolutely destroy. They just destroy you. Okay. Now, this is one of several plays in a row that Scotty made to find clear open shooters. Make a big fuss on this channel about distinguishing between what I call farm assists or assist farming and what I call like legit assists. Like assists which are of the variety where, am I lagging again? God damn it. I am wired in right now and I'm still lagging. Has this film breakdown been laggy? Y'all let me know. Has this film breakdown been laggy at all? Here, let me try to remove it and then pull it back. I feel like, okay, good. All right, let's try this. Try to get this back. Okay, still good. And hopefully this will not be laggy. Ugh, back to lag. Okay. Okay, give me 1 second here. Let me try to lower the screen resolution again. I am working off a 4K monitor now, so I'm not maybe, just maybe, because the screen that I'm sharing is technically on a 4K screen. Is it possible that that's what's creating the lag? Give me 1 second here to troubleshoot this, and hopefully this will make it a little bit better. Okay, this should make it better. Let's try. Did it make it better? I don't think it did. Resident One saying drop resolution to 720 on my screen or on the stream. I can't really. I'm not really sure if I can. Let me remove this and then re-put it back. Okay. I just want smooth video, man. That's all I want. Okay, and here is the dreaded play. Unfortunately, Scotty Barnes is going to get injured here. And this is tough, man. It's really tough. As you can see, he lands here writhing in pain. There's the injury right there. There's the ankle. Again, I say this with complete respect and as somebody who myself sprained my ankle for the very, very first time, I want to say 2.5 years ago. Hurts like a bitch. I'm obviously not a professional athlete. I am not 20 years old, 22 years old, 23 years old. And so I don't have a, professional team looking after me. I'm sure Scotty will be back within 10 to 12 days. Pretty sure. Okay. But tough, really tough. And yeah, he leaves the court and he didn't put any pressure on it. And that was tough too. Right. So he just sort of hobbled off. Yeah. Okay. These were a couple plays that Scotty had made just prior to. He hit a couple of threes. They drop aggressively on him. They're late contesting. OG's late contesting there. Yeah. 16 points for Jakob Poeltl, career high. And again, I say this with respect to Latrell Sprewell. I really do think that this is a Sprewell type move. You know what I mean? Like, he's not the vertical athlete that Latrell is. I get that. But, it's some good stuff. And this play that he made to RJ Barrett, and again, I'll apologize, it's a little bit laggy, but I hope you got to see it in real time. That was great. That was great. It was one dribble down, and he was just so excited by it. Okay. This is the play. I absolutely hate if this is laggy, but here's the play. And I mean, you see how many good decisions are made. Nothing wasted. Just slams it home. It was great. And this is the and one that we were referring to earlier. Simple catch, shoot. Cameron Payne, my bad. Not Cameron Johnson. Cameron Payne just sort of scissor kicks into him and he misses the free throw, but really huge night for Jacoby. Really proud of that dude. 19 points. His shot has not been falling generally, but yes. And I do believe that the Knicks could really use a Jonathan Mobo. And I'm pretty sure if right now, if you ask them, gun to your head, would you trade Jonathan Mobo for Precious Achua? Ironically, Precious Achua is literally sitting there watching this go in. I'm pretty sure they tell you yes. Yes, we would. He's exactly what we thought. So I'm going to ask y'all just politely, please stop comparing these two players. Okay. Now, big swing. This is huge. RJ drives into the paint and he finds Davion Mitchell, who is not being guarded ever. And Josh Hart actually closes out on this and he's still going to hit this. Yo, that's amazing. That was great. Comfortable, held his follow through. You could tell he was really feeling himself there. And this one, I'm not sure I can see the foul here. Unfortunately, Davion's not going to get the help from the respect from the refs here. But where's the foul? I mean, I understand that's not necessarily the best angle, but Jack saw it live and maybe he just barely clips his elbow on the way up. Sometimes, you play that hard and you do get called for a lot of fouls. The Raptors foul more than any team in the league, so that's just really tough. Okay, this one, another positive Davion Mitchell play. He's going to beat Josh Hart off the dribble here, and he's going to make it right into the paint. Karl-Anthony Towns not going to do anything to stop him, and Josh Hart is a little bit late. That's a tough shot. These are not wide open shots. That was an actually tough shot that he made. And so kudos to Davion Mitchell for making it. And then this play down on the other end, this is where, you really do find yourself saying, okay, Jakob Poeltl and Ochai Agbaji are kind of like two to the basketball right now, right? Which means somebody is open. And in this case, that Gradey is sort of sitting in the gap between Karl-Anthony Towns but you're so compromised here. You have no rim protection. Like, what is this defense? You can't stop anything right now. You can't stop a Karl-Anthony Towns 3 at all. You also cannot possibly stop a Karl-Anthony Towns drive. How would you stop it? And Lord help you, if Karl-Anthony Towns drives, then you can't stop the OG or Mikal 3. So it's like, this is just horrible defense. This is, you cannot have Jakob Poeltl running out on the perimeter. He cannot be the guy who's tasked to do this. And now here, to go to Karl-Anthony Towns, nobody goes to Mikal Bridges, who, granted, like, if you're going to choose between one of those two guys, but do you realize this is wide open? If he wanted to take this, this was his and it was going in. The fact that he doesn't take it is largely because Davion is not able to close the gap there. But had Davion closed the gap there, what would have happened? It would have been a wide open dunk for Josh Hart. So there's really nothing you can do at all to stop them from scoring here. And so the question is, why is it that 5 people cannot stop 5 people from scoring? What is wrong with this play? Well, there's so much wrong with this play. Number one, the person who should be pressuring Jalen Brunson is currently guarding the paint. The person who should be guarding the paint is pressuring Jalen Brunson. So your two best players protecting the rim right now, actually your only 2 players protecting the rim right now, are currently 30 feet from the basket, which is Ochai Agbaji and Jakob Poeltl. Your 2 non-defenders, right, which is Gradey and RJ, for all intents and purposes, those are your 2 weaknesses. They are both guarding corner shooters. And again, you're not in a position to stop anything right here. Literally anything but Jalen Brunson, and you're screwed. Josh Hart open, OG wide open, Mikal wide open, Cat was open as well. If Cat wants to drive here, he's got it. If he drives and then does a little shuffle pass to Josh Hart, I guarantee you RJ is not recovering. So it's just like there's an inevitability of, okay, who wants to score now? Who wants the open shot? You want the open shot, Mikal? You want the open shot, Jalen? You want the open shot, Josh? NBA players can hit open shots, bro. So this is where, I think if you're looking at process, if you're looking at future, this is where some of us who say, yeah, RJ is great, Grady's great, IQ is great, but at some point, if you want to win basketball games, someone's going to have to become a much better defender. And here's RJ Barrett. Again, I apologize for the lag. He is going to go 4-on-1 and make it. Right now, I can just hear everybody. If he misses this, I mean, this is the hardest shot. Like, how the hell do you make this? How do you even make this? Like, this is the craziest shot you've ever seen. And honestly, I know he made it, but I was saying, pass to Gradey. He's wide open, and they know he's not going to pass this up. And too many times, right? And again, he makes it so nobody complains. But if he smoked this, I think everyone would be asking the same question. Why not Gradey? Why not Ochai? Why not somebody else? Why not wait for your teammates? Why go so early? And again, he makes it, so it's impressive. But what happens when he doesn't make it, right? What happens when it goes the other way? Jalen Brunson here. Again, Jalen Brunson is not an idiot. He doesn't have to go 2-on-1, 3-on-1. He can just find the opening. And right now, there's a really glaring opening, which is Karl-Anthony Towns with an open layup. And it takes Jalen Brunson about 1 second to spot it, and the Raptors can't do anything. Here we go. RJ Barrett, not going to be able to bother that shot, right? And then on the other end, again, you're happy when it goes in. What happens when it doesn't? Well, when it doesn't, it looks like this. And here, this is a considerably easier shot. But now he thinks he's going 1-on-1, and the weak side shot blocker, which is in this case the help, comes over and swats this away. And there's the game. That's the game. If he makes that, maybe you're going down to a final possession, to a 110, but he doesn't make that, and he gets blocked by OG Anunoby. I'm telling you right now, you do this against the Magic, you do this against the Cavs, you do this against any team with a competent wing defender who's like a good roamer, even the Bucks with Giannis, you're not going to be able to get that shot off. You need to make decisions faster. You need to be able to process the court faster. And here's the dagger. Okay, 110, 108 down the stretch. Here's OG. Okay, now here, RJ surrenders this switch. Why? Why surrender this switch? How hard is it to just go around? Press up on your guy and go around so you don't have to surrender this clear mismatch. Now you're both fucked because he can't guard OG and you can't guard Cat. Like, you're both now in a worse position. Why surrender the switch? I don't understand why you do this. So now they have done the right thing, which is they've pulled the only rim protector out of the paint, right? And here's Karl-Anthony Towns. And of course, just way too much space. RJ kind of just focused on, is OG going to drive? He's probably thinking that's what I would do. I would drive in this situation. Well, OG's not you. Okay, OG is going to make the simple pass. And Karl-Anthony Towns, one of the best big man shooters, if not the best big man shooter ever. And he's going to nail this comfortably as RJ's kind of just waving at him by. Okay, it would not be fair, not at all fair to characterize this as, this game falls on RJ or this falls on any one person. This game ultimately falls on a lot of things. This game falls on smoked layups. This game falls on Scotty Barnes getting injured. This game falls on a lack of talent, maybe. This game falls on rotations. This game falls on reffing. But, sure, you could say a part of this game could fall on Scotty not being assertive enough in the first half. I really didn't like his first half. I really didn't. I thought it was a really passive, poor process first half. I didn't love his defense. I didn't love his verve. I didn't like the speed that he's playing with. He played much better in the second half before getting injured. Asher Khan saying this game falls on Grady's defense. He was not good tonight. He was not good tonight. Back, he not touching court. Keon saying, I feel Scotty realized his mistake and was turning it up, then got hurt. Yep. What's your opinion on the last defensive play? My opinion is you don't have the personnel to, you don't have, okay. So, first of all, let's clear something up. Per the numbers are important here. Jakob Poeltl is not a good defender right now. Okay. Letting the clock run down versus blitzing. You have to have the personnel to blitz. And, you know, if you want to foul early, you had a foul to give. Jack Armstrong was calling for them to give that foul early. I certainly wouldn't have had an issue with fouling early and then forcing them to set up their offense. But I don't really think you had the personnel to stop them tonight. I know that sounds crazy. They're really good. They're a really good offensive team. And without Scotty Barnes in the game, you just don't have the personnel to stop them. Now, if Scotty's playing great, Jonathan Mobile is playing great, Davion's been serviceable offensively. Now, maybe, just maybe, you have enough that you can compensate for RJ and Gradey. But that's how much you need around those guys to just float. I'm not saying be good, I'm saying float. Now, I was listening to the panel today. I'm on the panel tomorrow, but I wasn't on today. And I was just listening to Swiper, and they were talking about defensive analytics and, Nikola Jokic and how bad a defender he's been this year. And everyone's like, he's a great MVP, but it's a layup line for the Nuggets. And Swiper started listing out the worst defensive centers in the NBA. And when he got to Jokic, he said he's tied with Jakob Poeltl. So I decided to check, and he's right. Jakob Poeltl and Nikola Jokic are relatively even as defensive players right now. That's tough, man. That's really tough because they're definitely not relatively even as offensive players. And I think that you really need to watch a really good rim protector play basketball. Like I know he kind of plays for, he doesn't kind of, he plays for our G League 905 team, but Ulrich is a really effective rim protector. He is a rim deterrent. He swats shots everywhere. He switches well. He's clearly not ready for primetime NBA minutes, but you see the intimidation factor of having him in the paint. It deters drives. It has guards thinking and looking over their shoulder, right? Like, what is that thing that we saw, I think, where Jacoby Walter got blocked in that game by Miles Turner? And he was pretty much reluctant to drive the rest of the game. He was always thinking, like, is it going to happen to me again? That's what rim protectors can do for you. And unfortunately, the Raptors don't really have one, right? The closest thing they have to it is Yak or Mobo, Scotty, Ochai. These guys are not like elite rim protectors. They're good, decent defenders, but they're not elite rim protectors. And Yak also is not the greatest on the switches. I know he switched on to Jalen Brunson and forced him to pass, which was weird. But I think against the Indiana Pacers, he switched out to Tyrese Halliburton and just got absolutely cooked. So he's not the greatest switch defender. If he's not the greatest roamer and he's not the greatest rim protector and he's not exactly able to hold his own on the block, then Jakob Poeltl is pretty much like a net neutral to bottom, like to a negative defender right now. Like, this is not a conversation I was willing to have or even expecting to have, but we need to have it because that's how bad he's been. Okay. And he's been a large part of the Raptors' defensive woes this year and last year, frankly. RJ Barrett, of course, he is a huge culprit of lazy transition defense, poor closeouts, lack of size in general. You'd look at his frame and you're like, he should be able to guard in the post, but he doesn't guard in the post well, right? He sort of lacks the lateral quickness to do anything. Scotty just did not play well tonight defensively, but overall this year he's been phenomenal defensively. Davion, of course, a very positive on-ball defender, good, overall, but then he surrenders the rebounds and he has some lapses off the ball, so he's not a perfect defender. Emmanuel Quickley and Kelly Olynyk, who were decent defenders at their last stop, were not good defenders for the Raptors last year, so that's tough as well. So it's like, who the hell is a positive defender right now for you other than Scotty and Mobile? That's about it. I mean, you could say Ochai is holding water, but he's not great. He's okay. You need more than okay to compensate for god awful, and you have a lot of god awful defenders on your team. This is why you really need to be preying on guys like Jonathan Mobo and Jacoby Walter to become permanent staples in this in your lead rotation, because they do provide so many good things. This is also why you should be praying for Davion Mitchell to start hitting shots, because yeah, he contributes really well defensively, and if he can hit shots and stop turning the basketball over, he'll actually provide 15 to 18 good minutes off the bench for you. Okay. And then you need to always you need to always be praying for Scotty's health, because without him, this team is different and they are significantly worse. Significantly worse. When he got injured, they were up by 4 or 3. They lose by 5. Okay. Now I'm not necessarily telling you that him being on in the game would have meant you win this game in a landslide, but I'm positive you win this game if he had finished this out, and it's just like I'm positive you win the Nuggets game if he finished it out. So I mean, if you're looking for positive signs, your starters played their starters even. They just decided to run their starters into the ground, and at some point they'll probably suffer, the injury curse because of it. But yeah, Elliot Rogers saying, "Gotta say it. If Scott SB stays for the duration of this game, Raptors win this game." I agree with you. I think the Raptors were on the verge of winning this game. Vegas certainly thought they were going to win this game at some point, but when Jalen Brunson went out, Scotty Barnes went out, it was like, okay, sure. I think we can argue that, like, we could certainly make a point like which player is better, but I think Scotty's better. So I think like the Raptors are down a little bit there, but Vegas pretty much sliced it off even. But when Jalen Brunson came back, that's when Vegas added all the odds back to New York. Why does Darko keep starting Gradey? It's clear based on defense he needs a sixth man and just come off the bench. Start Ochai. You do know Ochai Baji's been starting, right? Ochai's been starting at the 4. What you really need to be thinking about is like long term. Okay, we need to have 2 conversations right now, I think. 3 conversations. Huh? 2 conversations. Let's have 2 conversations. Conversation number 1 is long term. Is this tenable? What do you need to add to this for it to work? Okay. Now, I understand that Darko Rakovic said no skip steps. We're not going to skip steps. We're going to be the team that's not going to hide from anything. I think this is it. I don't think I've agreed with Mickeltoe once in any comment, that you've written that I can recall, but I agree with this. I'm not hanging up the phone if OKC calls about Scotty in this draft. If we could get Chet and some picks, I don't mind giving RJ the keys. It doesn't surprise me that you think that deal would be available. It doesn't surprise me that you want to hand the keys to RJ Barrett. It doesn't surprise me that someone who thinks what you think would say what you say. But I'll tell you right now, I love Scotty. OKC loves Chet. Okay. Like that's crazy. Yeah. Anyways, I think the broader the broader conversation that needs to be had is what is the long-term future of that core? And if you're going to continue to struggle this way, at what point do you need and what do you need to upgrade? Well, I want to make a case that I've made before on this channel, but I think I want to make it in a better way about defense and offense and how they're inexplicably connected, and why players like Luka and players like Domantas Sabonis and players like Nikola Jokic sometimes get a lot of credit for defensive analytics when they're doing things offensively. The 2 places that you absolutely don't want to guard are the okay, basically 2 things you never ever want, 3 things you never want to do. Number 1, you don't want to be giving up completely uncontested open layups, because those are almost a guaranteed 2 points. You'd almost rather give up an uncontested 3 than an uncontested layup, because an uncontested layup for everyone but the Raptors is usually like 1.99 points. Okay. It's like a guaranteed 2 points on the list. So bigs in general, like guys who are big, tend to get in the way of layups being totally uncontested, even if they're not particularly good at contesting them. Number two, you don't want to give up transition buckets because transition offense and early offense is generally way more efficient than late offense or late half court offense. And so when you think of it that way, a player that consistently puts the basketball in the hole is going to force the other team to put it out of bounds, and it's going to delay their offense, which is going to give your defense a chance. So if RJ Barrett turns the ball over 10 times in a live ball situation, that's 10 times that your defense has to face a really tremendous weight of having to compensate for cross matches and transition. So it's important that players who are efficient take care of the basketball and are generally good at putting the basketball in the hole typically have a good impact on your defense, even if they don't play defense very well. The other thing you never want to do if you're a defense is you don't want to see that ball come off the rim and one of their players gets it, because now you're completely fucked. Number one, the player who got the offensive rebound is coming down, gathering. Very likely they can go up for an open layup or, a putback. There's also a lot of data to suggest that threes off of offensive rebounds are some of the most efficient threes in the NBA. And so, just in basketball in general. And so, typically, teams, when your center, power forward, small forward, whatever, when your team in general isn't good at rebounding, well, then you're consistently having to give up very efficient offense, right? It just makes sense. The whole game in the NBA in general is just trade offs. Offensively and defensively, as a coach, we want trade offs. Okay. So, yeah, if you're Darko Rajakovic, you want to get the ball out of Jalen Brunson's hand and you want to force somebody else to beat you. Unfortunately, Karl-Anthony Towns is more than capable of beating you. Mikal Bridges is more than capable of beating RJ Barrett or Gradey Dick off the bounce. He probably can't beat Scotty off the bounce when he's dialed in. He probably can't beat Ochai off the bounce, but those two are food. Those two are food for everybody. And that's the problem, right? Because it becomes so difficult to construct a defensive scheme when you have too many holes. And the Raptors have way too many holes. And they don't have anyone who can cover up those holes other than Scotty right now. And occasionally Ochai and sometimes Davion. And I'm thinking Mobo. Like, that's it. That's what you got. That's what you got. Those are the guys who clean things up. So when RJ gets beat on a gamble, who cleans that up? Right? Does he clean that up? Is he getting back into the play? The play that we saw last game where I got super mad at Jack Armstrong for blaming Scotty Barnes for it. It was Grady taking a shot, PJ Washington going the other way. Now that's a mistake, right? That's a mistake. To lose a guy in transition is a mistake. But how many things had to go into that? Number one, Luka's pass on the baseline was uncontested. Someone could have made that pass harder, therefore making it harder for, maybe Luka to throw the ball and ultimately for PJ to catch the ball. Someone should have gotten back. So this is all help and recovery, right? When you look at a play like this, right? What are the Raptors trying to do right now? Right? They're trying to contain the basketball. They want OG to take a three, right? And they're thinking he wants to drive, right? Because Yak is slow footed. And, you know, ultimately, right here, the last thing you can do is lose the guy who's just one pass away, which is Karl-Anthony Towns. This is the easiest frigging thing you've ever seen. Like, it's just too easy. Everything's too easy, right? Whereas if you have a bigger defender like a Jonathan Mobo on there, so my question is right now is, why is Jonathan Mobo not on the floor? Are you going to really make a case as well as he played tonight that Davion Mitchell is a more effective team defender than Jonathan Mobo? No, he's not. He's not a more effective team defender than Jonathan Mobo, right? He might be more experienced than Jonathan Mobo, but he's not going to impact this play or many other plays in the situation. And again, you're going to make the trade-off where you don't want, a particular player to beat you. I'm looking around the court and I'm like, Jalen Brunson doesn't have to beat you. Jalen Brunson's not even on the court. Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, Deuce McBride, OG Anunoby, and Karl-Anthony Towns. Jalen Brunson's on the bench. It's too easy. This is a very leaky ship. They have way too many holes, and they're not going to be able to clean up these holes without some personnel changes at the top, wholesale personnel changes at the top. And I think that starts with probably the 2025 draft, where you are going to be targeting a serious two-way player. I think that also is tonight, like when you look at the rookies that played for you, Jacoby Walter, Jamison Battle. Sorry, Jacoby Walter and Jonathan Mobo. Those are really good defenders. They're going to be good defenders. They project as good defenders. You need that. You need that. You need players who can serviceably, compete offensively and defensively. Now, the larger story that we need to, talk about is, does this pretty much signal the tank, right? Is this injury like the final nail in the coffin? Okay. Wasn't bad enough that, Jokic broke Scotty's face. I mean, what is it with centers and us? I just want to know. Okay. Can we get a little timeline here? First, Jonas Valanciunas takes out RJ Barrett on a screen in preseason. That's one center. Nikola Jokic busts up Scotty's face. That's a second center. Now we got, Scotty stepping on Karl-Anthony Towns. Like, what else is next? It's always centers and it's always against us. And I don't get it. Jamabal are saying players can improve. It is how they do. I don't understand that. But sure. I don't think Jakob Poeltl is necessarily about to become some elite rim protector at this point. I think Kelly Olynyk gives up a lot inside. He's not necessarily like the greatest defender, but in a team scheme, he can contribute. He's a very smart player. He's very dialed in on that end. He's limited. He doesn't have a huge wingspan. He's never been a shot blocker at all. He doesn't contest well, and he's not a super bouncy athlete. So, if Kelly Olynyk is the final line of defense, you're screwed. So that's why the Utah Jazz played him so consistently with Walker Kessler, right? I mean, honestly, talk about them both. Talk about them all, right? I think this team has so many leaks on defense. It's really hard, to even imagine how Jakob Poeltl has fallen to the extent that he's fallen, because he was really a two-way guy in his first stint with the Raptors, and he was a two-way guy for the vast majority of his stint with the Spurs. This recent development of not really being able to switch out, this was naturally expected as he aged close to 30. Marc Gasol was a lot less switchable as he went out too. But Gasol remained a phenomenal rim protector, a really good post defender, very fundamentally sound. I have just seen, Jakob Poeltl get cooked and cooked and cooked by other centers all year. And yeah, don't think Scotty Barnes will be out for a very long period. For a long period, we have a shot at the play-in. Do you want a shot at the play-in? I think that's the question at this point, right? Now, we laid it out in a previous live where I took you through my estimates of what I think would happen for the rest of the year, and his spacing was so nice. Okay, so I know that Marc Gasol comes up a lot, and I feel like people either don't understand Mark or just really either underrate him or overrate him. He was not a great spacer. He led the entire league in 2019 for open threes. Teams just didn't guard him at all, and he made very few of them. But because he was willing to take them, he is a vast upgrade over Jakob Poeltl in every sense as a shooter and a spacer. But he wasn't Karl-Anthony Towns. He wasn't Sam Perkins. He wasn't Rasheed Wallace. Okay. Defensively, however, he is a little bit underrated, I feel. Yeah. No, for sure. I don't want playing. Well, I think I'm inclined to agree. I find myself consistently on the edge of what do we root for? And I'm looking at the East right now, right? You got some teams that are pretty good, but they're very capped out. You have some other teams that are good, but maybe there's some concerns about how they're going to age, right? Teams like Philly, teams like Milwaukee, right? Teams that have kind of gone all in with all their draft capital, and they don't really have much flexibility if their stars start to age. Then I look at teams that are supposed to be upstart teams like Atlanta and Indiana with young players, generally under 31, under 30, under 29, that are mainly they're good players. DeAndre Hunter has definitely been a revelation and a bit of a spark in Atlanta. Don't know what Zachary Sachet is going to become for Atlanta, but I do think that it's worth noting that the East is wide open right now. Beyond the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Boston Celtics, and to a way lesser extent, the Orlando Magic, if the Raptors play their cards right over the next 7 months, 6 months, 5 months, really, 5 months, 5 months left in the season. If you play your cards right over the next 5 months and then you draft correctly and you properly make some good roster moves, you could be home court advantage next year. You don't have to do the whole plan sixth seed and then third seed. You can just jump straight to third seed. I do think Scotty is that good. I do think Darko is that good at developing talent. And I do think Gradey is going to take that much of a jump next year. Anyways, let's bring on Lil John. Lil John, what's up, man?
How you doing, man?
I'm good.
I'm doing well. That was a very clutch loss for us. Anytime Scotty goes out, we all should collectively be rooting for a loss because it's all about the tank. It's all about the tank now. Those are my thoughts, really. Like immediately when he went out, it was go New York, go New York. I don't know about
You didn't think at any point the Raptors could come back?
No, I thought the Raptors were in the game, especially when Davion hit that three. I was like, is this really going to happen? Is this actually going to happen? But I'm saying what I
It was the Davion Mitchell revenge tour. Yo, we got. I don't know if you're on X at all. He basically he and I have gone back and forth on X pretty much for 2 days, and yesterday he deleted his account apparently or deactivated his account. I have no idea. And the second he did that, I made my post. I think he's about to turn around his season.
So he would have seen it.
I have no idea if he saw that. I think that he should turn around, that he's going to turn around his season. I just wanted to have that because I thought a revenge game was coming. And I thought he walked into this game very motivated, and he did very well. He did very well.
Do you think we would have won? Do you think we would have won if Scotty wasn't hurt?
Yeah, I do.
So do I. So I feel like there's like some higher power that's trying to save us from ourselves because I really think tanking. Like we are we're destined to tank. Like every sign is point. Like everyone's getting hurt. Oh, repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
Scotty's missed. This is his second injury. Like within a month, or not even a month. Like this is unfathomable. So like, I guess the tank is on, and I don't know. I've been watching this guy named Derek Queen. I don't know if you have.
Mm-hmm.
I really like him. He could take Jakob's position in a heartbeat.
Do you think he can contribute to winning right away for a team that's aiming potentially for the playoffs next year?
I don't know. I think that guy's. I think he's day one ready. That guy's so skilled. My goodness.
Yeah. Recruiter dude with a very generous super chat here saying, really getting tired of watching Bruce on the bench in his stupid cowboy outfits collecting 25 million while we ride players into the ground. Get this guy off my team. IQ situation, also testing patience. Okay, so recruiter dude, number one, not that it's a big deal, but Bruce Brown makes 22.5 million, not 25, thankfully. And number two, I have no idea why the Raptors picked up his picked up his team option. I'll never understand that. Could have done anything else with that money. Now are apparently dangling him for a second round pick. It's like, bro, $22.5 million for a second round pick. Did he have pictures of somebody? Like, what the fuck? And he's clearly healthy. He could play. I think they just want to make sure that when he does play, if he does play, He plays phenomenally. And you know what? If Scotty Barnes is out for the next week, here's your opportunity to play, right? Unfortunately, Scotty Barnes, one of those players who would have actually made him look a little bit better than he actually is, and now he's gonna have to play without him. But yeah, I didn't. And to answer your question, I did not think the Raptors had a chance after Scotty went out. So I was very surprised when they were up 1 or 2 points, and then
Well, it
I
went
was
all the way down to the wire. That's kind of what made me surprised. Like, remember, I think he went out mid third, and I was like, how are they still up with 4 minutes to go?
well, it's because Jalen Brunson was also out.
Fair. But even then, I mean, my goodness, the Knicks defense is very, very lackluster. Like, goodness, they are in a terrible position right now. But are you not surprised by this injury? Like this run of injuries? Like this is kind of wild. Like I know Masai is sitting back thinking like, should I just trade Jakob if this is what it is?
I would.
You're
Because
there now.
when have I not been there?
I don't think I've remember. I don't think I've ever heard your stance on that. So
Okay. Hang on 1 second. I apologize here. So Bruce Brown signed a 2-year, $45 million contract. I thought it was 22.5 every year. It is not. It was 22 and then 23. So currently he is making 23 million. I stand corrected. Okay. In terms of trading Jakob, like I feel like it's weird because when you say trade somebody, a lot of people think you don't like that person. But that's never the case with me.
similar to RJ.
Did you read Michael Granger's article on RJ Barrett? That was a pull on the heartstrings. It was a really good article.
I should read it, yeah.
Yeah, it was a really good one. It was about, being home, and it presented everything very, very neatly, if I would say very generously. There was a lot of talk about, I don't think there was I think if somebody from New York read that, they might have said, I think you very, very much misrepresented his time in New York. Talking about how he kind of lived up to expectations, but they just moved in another direction is very much cap. Like they had a very clear situation that is exactly the same situation that the Raptors are in right now, which is they had a defensive liability in Julius Randle, a defensive liability in Jalen Brunson. They're like, we can't have 3 of these guys. So we need, they had positive defenders everywhere. Like Mitchell Robinson was a positive defender. To some extent, the iHeart was clearly a positive, and they were a decent defensive team. But Emmanuel Quickley was a net neutral type of defender, but they just couldn't have 3 guys who kind of replicated so many skills with the basketball. They couldn't have them all be defensive liabilities. And I don't necessarily think, I don't think that article necessarily talks about his defense enough. It kind of goes into it right at the end, but overall, I thought it was a pretty good article.
Rob, like the tank is here. I don't know if people are ready to accept this, but it's facing us in the face.
Yeah,
we gotta go all the way down, like down and dirty, like start resting guys in mid-January. Like I'm ready for it, because we have to get somebody next to Scotty that, because I'm even like kind of questioning Gradey a little bit. Like I don't know, like defensively, with the increased minutes, I don't know if he's kind of getting exposed. I don't know if it's the minutes. I don't know if he's gone backwards, but I'm to the point where I'm like, I could potentially see Jacoby being better than him. Like the way Jacoby plays in the handle, Grady's like very north-south. Like you saw that layup he missed today, where he blew by Mikal, and then just like, how many times has he done that where he just blows a tire, just falls into somebody? You know what I mean? Like Jacoby's very poised offensively, very like, there's like a calmness to him on offense, where Grady's like he's just like all over the place.
I do think his game is more mature. I think overall,
I think he's better defensively.
No, that's no question. Jacoby's a better defender. I think.
And also, I've been again, we're a year and a half in. I'm still a little underwhelmed by Gradey's 3-point shooting. Now, again,
No, I
just
think that will come. He
now, okay,
shoots it.
yeah, it could come.
He shoots it way too well. It's. I don't think there's a world in which, in his prime, he's shooting less than 39% from three. It's just,
I would hope,
but
because
I mean,
35 is not good enough.
look at how. Okay, dude, you can't look at the percentages with Gradey. You just can't. Like, you have to look at how he's being guarded and what kind of threes he's getting. Right? He's not taking open catch and shoot corner threes like Ochai Abaji. Like, people get way too excited by numbers, and I'm like, whoa, hold, we need context, right? So today, Scotty hit, I think, 3 3-pointers, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
3.
Okay. So I think one of them was a late contest, one of them was wide open, and then one of them was semi-open. I don't remember the first one now. But nevertheless, I think those are harder threes because they're self-generated. When they're self-generated, it's harder. When it's off the pull-up, it's harder. If you're beating a second defender, it's harder. If you're just doing like the PJ Tucker special, or the Matisse Thybulle special, which is standing in the corner, or like the Robert Covington special, just standing in the corner, Al Horford, and just taking threes on catch and shoots, that's not that hard. Like, it's just not that hard. And typically, the best shooters are never going to get those shots because defenses are not stupid. They'll never let them get those shots. So the best shooters like Steph Curry and guys like that, they have to work super hard. When's the last time you saw Steph Curry open corner catch and shoot? It's so hard to get guys like him in those positions. And so if Steph Curry shoots 39% on a season, and I don't know, Bruce Brown, RJ Barrett, shoots 39%. Those are completely different threes.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but like, I feel like I've seen Gradey miss a lot of open threes. But then again, I'm sure he's knocked out, like, if I see the stats, probably in the 40s, like, percentile. It just, sometimes when a guy's perceived to be a shooter and he misses an open shot, seems like, he's letting you down. I get that. Is there any young guys in the draft that you're kind of keyed in on currently? I'm a big fan of Trey Johnson and Derek Queen, probably my favorites. I don't know. Again, I'm not saying those guys are going 1 and 2, but I really like their offensive games.
Did you watch the draft video that we did?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so we talked about 10 players that I was really high on. And yeah, if you haven't, nothing that I said in those videos has changed very much.
Was Trey in it?
Nope.
Okay, so I'm assuming you're not as high on him.
I haven't watched enough. Need to watch more.
Yeah,
He looks
very talented.
I've only watched 2 games, so I'm not gonna. I made a rule with myself where I'm not gonna offer any insights on prospects until I'm comfortable talking about them, because
that's fair.
Like, sometimes you get into really liking a prospect based on 3 games or 4 games. I can't do that.
Yeah, you might say something stupid. Yeah.
It's, I mean, and I don't even care about saying anything stupid. Actually, like, towards the end of this live, I'm going to talk about something that, came to me yesterday about happiness, unhappiness, and the willingness to be unliked. But I will say that, I don't really care about being wrong. Clearly, I don't care about being wrong. What I care more about is that I'm not parroting an opinion about a draft prospect that I haven't watched enough tape on. So, yeah. And also, not Ace Bailey, AJ DeBonsa chooses his school tomorrow.
Oh, really? Is it going to be one of those ESPN things where they choose the hat?
Any guesses as to where you think he's going?
Oh, I have no clue what his list is. Is UConn in it?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
I think we lost him.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, that is a newsworthy thing that is going to happen tomorrow. AJ DeBonsa, the best player in high school right now, is going to be choosing between BYU, Kansas, North Carolina. I think he's probably going to go to BYU. Oh, saying we can hear him. Oh, my bad.
Can you hear me?
My bad. I cut you off. Okay, now I can hear you. Okay.
Oh, I was saying, is he going to do one of those things where he has the hats laid out on the table and he's like going to pick it up?
I don't know.
I UConn, do you know the schools that he's going?
Yeah, it's Utah. Sorry, not Utah. Shit, he went to Utah Prep. BYU, Kansas, and
BYU.
yeah,
Wow.
what's
Kansas,
in North Carolina?
North
I think
Carolina.
there's one. I think Auburn might be in it too.
Auburn's been getting a lot of guys recently. They've kind of turned into like a not a not what do you call like a
Oh, it's Alabama. It's Alabama, not Auburn. My bad.
those are some
Yeah,
interesting schools.
yeah.
Uh, I will
I
say,
agree with Just Frank. I think he's going to BYU too.
yeah. I would like to end on. I'm very excited, like getting to look at a lot of these prospects. Like this is the first time the Raptors have had their pick and they've been bad. Like usually they don't have their pick. I guess the Scotty draft, but this is the first time since then, and probably the second time in the last 10, 11 years. And it's going to be very fun going into.
That's not true. They were pretty bad and they had their pick in 2023, but they decided
Yeah,
to
but
try and be good late, and then they got Grady Dick.
yeah, well, it was in the teens though. Like this one potentially could be top five.
This one could also potentially be in the teens.
At this point, man. I mean, are you not hoping it's not top five?
We haven't lost a single game that I expected us to win during the stretch yet. The minute we lose to Chicago or Brooklyn,
But
now you'll
If
have
Scotty's
official.
out, then
They can
and
still win against Chicago without, like, Chicago is not a good team.
are you rooting for them to win these games?
I have no dog in this race.
You're just spectating.
Yep, this is Monopoly money time. I have no dog in this race. Yeah, no dog in this race. You know, Andrew saying, "What about the Hornet sauce?" Yeah, they're not. They were not supposed to lose to the Hornets. I'm saying since Scotty came back, I believe. Okay, wait. They lost. Okay, they did lose the Detroit game, and that was with Scotty. So that was a
I
winnable
think
game.
some guys were missing in that game, though.
Some guys are always missing. One of the Raptors had a healthy roster this year. So I
Yeah.
think the Masai Ujiri will have this, excuse for himself kind of baked in of like, when have we seen the healthy roster? I do think that it's worth noting that because Scotty missed, I want to say 11 games. He missed 11 games last time, right?
Yeah, I think it was 11.
Let me just check here.
I'm 100% sure it's 11 or 12.
Okay.
It was exactly 3 weeks.
Okay, he's played 14 games now. The Raptors. Okay, wait. So he got injured against Denver.
The
So
Raptors are 7, 8,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He returned against Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, he missed 11. So all NBA cutoff is 65 games. Right? So simple deduction here. You have to play 65 games, which means you can miss 17 games.
Scotty All-Star propaganda is virtually over now, unfortunately. I mean, maybe he comes back within a couple games, but at this point, it's like, I don't know. There's some people who are speculating it might be a Liz Frank. Have you seen that?
Fuck out of here, man. It's not a Liz Frank injury.
Oh my God, I'm seeing it on Reddit.
No.
People speculating. No, the X-rays came back clean. So again, I don't know how. There's some.
Your X-rays would not come back clean if it was a Liz Frank injury.
I know, but then there's also some lady. Again, I think she's into this medical stuff. So she was saying that sometimes the X-rays don't capture the Liz Frank injury, like 10 to 30. But she was saying it's like a low possibility. He did grab his foot and then say, "I can't feel my foot."
He
So
said,
I
"I
don't know.
can't feel my foot."
Yeah, you didn't see that?
Mm-mm.
There's video of him, like I think it was on the Knicks video or just broadcast, that it was like he was speaking out and he was like, "I can't feel my foot." He said that multiple times. But then again, we also know he has ankle issues, so, and they described it as an ankle injury. I don't think they said foot. They said right ankle sprain.
Hmm.
Again,
He will be
X-rays are clean.
he'll be reevaluated on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's tomorrow. So, goodness.
And let me see this. I'm just looking at the I'm gonna look at the clip of the injury again and see if I can read his lips on this.
Can you put it up?
No, I can't. Because that would get us demonetized. But let me see here. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna try to read the lips of what he says to the trainer. Hang on. Okay. He's saying, "Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god."
I think
I'm
he
just
said I
seeing him
can't.
say I'm seeing him say, "Oh my god," like 4 times.
I mean, different broadcast teams, they have different like angles and stuff. So, but I also seen people say he said I can't feel my foot.
But I don't think that would okay. So again, I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on television. So I'm very curious to see if Dr. Studer, Brian Studer is going to make a video about this at some point. And let's see if he does. Doesn't do a lot of Raptors stuff, but we'll know. Well, obviously we'll know tomorrow. But I'm sure a lot of people would love to know tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious when Chet Holmgren had the Liz Frank injury. Just want to see how did he land. It doesn't seem similar at all. Now I'm not saying that's the only way to get the Liz Frank injury, but
That was the pro-am, right?
yeah, it was the pro am against LeBron James.
You know they shut that game down immediately after because of the floors, right?
Sure,
Man,
I'm inclined to say I don't think it's a Liz Frank injury. I don't think people should speculate about stuff like that because it makes people unnecessarily panicked, and
hmm
panic really sells online. Now, obviously, if it is, holy shit. But let me see here.
that would be terrible, man. That'd be very terrible. But again, I don't think so. I think it's just another Scotty ankle injury.
Yeah, you've said that a few times. Okay, so when you say like another Scotty ankle injury, this is like landing on someone's foot. Is not like it's a blameless situation. He didn't wake up and fall out of bed and just injure his ankle. So I mean, any human being who's going to land on that or have Joel Embiid step on their foot, I think they're going to get injured.
No,
It's
of course, but he does have a propensity to like turn his ankle. Like some guys just have tender ankles.
hmm,
It's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. Again, for some reason, he always gets hurt when the team see where he's about to win a game or it feels like they're going to win a game. Again, this is the second time. Felt pretty comfortable against that Denver game as well. Um, I'd like to end on what were your thoughts on RJ's performance today? I thought that take and transition was like really special. Again, I thought he made a bunch of mistakes on defense like usual, but overall, I thought he played a pretty good game, especially with OG guarding.
I thought he was okay. He was pretty good. I don't think it was great, and I can't say that I necessarily agreed with his decision to go 4-on-1, even though he made it. It was early in the clock. It's the exact same play that we saw him. You know, it felt a little tunnel visiony, and an open three for Grady is far better than you taking a contested layup over 4 defenders.
I don't know. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Again, his decision making has always been questionable.
Hmm.
So I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I will say, uh, his the play style that he's playing in currently with under Darko is definitely real. Again, his percentages are still a little down, but I'm sure there's probably Knicks fans that were like, "Wow, like who is this guy? He's way different than he was on New York." But the reality is like you're not going to be that good with him as an offensive generator. Like, how many games have we lost in the final seconds with him creating?
Mhm.
Like if this was any other high level guy, Donovan Mitchell, SGA, because you have to compare him to those guys.
You don't have to compare him to those guys. He's not a max player. He's
Well, he's
not a
playing that
first option.
role, though, I'm saying.
Okay, but he's playing that role by necessity because if you're healthy, he's not necessarily having to do that, right? So it's not fair.
I mean, even
So
lesser guys, DeRozan. DeRozan would have came through in a couple of these games.
mm, I I've seen DeRozan choke away a lot of those. Have you seen DeMar DeRozan's playoff percentages? They used
I
to
missed
call
the
him DeMar
playoffs.
DeFrozen. Look, man, there are very few players who are going to be able to create successfully against doubles in the clutch. Very rare. Donovan Mitchell is one of them. Kevin Durant. If you're going to compare RJ Barrett to those players, he's going to fail miserably, and he shouldn't be compared to those
Where
players.
would you rank him currently in the NBA?
As what?
Just a basketball player. I just want to get an idea of your thoughts.
He's a top 100 basketball player.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I have him in the hundreds. I'd take Keegan
I
Murray.
didn't say hundreds. I said top 100.
Who
I
do you
think
rather have,
he's
him or Keegan Murray?
right now him because Keegan Murray
Really?
is playing like ass.
I don't know what happened to his shot.
No idea.
Same here. Uh, yeah. And no final thoughts. Just hopefully Scotty's back. I'd love to watch him. If he's playing, I'm rooting for the Raptors to win. If he's not, bring on the tank.
Yeah. All right, man. Take care. Peace.
Yep.
Paul B, what's up? Paul, you're gonna have to unmute yourself.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, sorry about that. Good to hear from you again, Rob and Coach Mo. And I'm going to say this one thing first. What Cat did at the end of the game was disgusting. What have you done in the NBA for you to come on camera? And, I used to live in Canarsie, Brooklyn for a little bit. I get it. New York is New York. But what he did proved something to me. You got a couple All-Star games, but you haven't done it all. I'm going to leave it at that. How do you guys think about Darko's coaching and not leaving the hot hand, Jacoby, who did pretty good today, and putting in Gradey, who didn't have it today? You saw that last minute 3-point shot from the top of the key. No one was around him. I thought, yes, you're under 10 points. This is your big game moment. He needs to slow it down. He's very fast in this game. I don't think the game is slow for him right now. When he's stable and he's focused, he can hit shots. But tonight, he didn't have it. What do you think about Darko not giving the first-year player a chance to close out a game instead of the second-year player? I get it. One's a lottery pick, but remember Jacoby, he should have went top 5 if things went the way it should have went in the second half at Baylor. I was disappointed in that. I'm going to start with this. Your takes.
Yeah, I think just defensively, it would have helped so much, regardless of the offense or how well he's shooting. I think it's worth noting that Gradey is a better shooter right now than Jacoby from distance, and he's being guarded as such. And so offensively, it helps. But this is a defensive play, that the Raptors get screwed on, and I think in general, Jacoby just helps your defense much more. He's a better rebounder. He's better at navigating screens. He doesn't necessarily die on switches as easily. He doesn't surrender switches as easily. He's better contesting. I think overall, I could give the edge to Jacoby, and I don't really care who was a lottery pick. I really don't. Like I personally don't have any sort of favoritism towards that. If you're a 13th overall pick and you're getting outplayed by a 19th overall pick in a weaker draft, them's the breaks, man. It doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah. I agree. And I'm looking at this game, and I think I called in about a week ago, and we were talking about this team not being a team that should be tanking, and I guess these last few games has shown me, we're not there yet. Let's be honest.
Right.
All right. The bench.
Not
I know.
where tanking.
Well, just I don't want to know that a team and our organization is telling their players, look, blow the game. I'm not saying that. Let's get it twisted,
They're
but
never going to do that.
they're never going to do that. I get it. However, there's not going to be a situation where if you see the game in hand, you got to know what team it is. You know, like you said, clock strikes the same time at least.
Come on, get on the ball, guys.
Same time the other day. So when I look at this team, I think that we can draft some better players. We need a stretch five, definitely. We need a great power forward. I'm hoping Scotty's okay. Him and IQ would have made a difference today. But when I look at what we did against OKC, what we did against Dallas, is an indication of where our team is. Yes, there was some players today that had some pride. RJ, they had OG, and they had Precious. But overall, we're not right there. And I'm thinking that our team's got to be a team where we got to draft. We really got to draft and develop our players. And I hope a good overhaul is coming.
God, I fucking love.
Yeah, I think there's some defensive holes in this team that need to be plugged up, and I'm not really sure how the long-term core pieces fit together offensively or defensively. So yeah, but we're just an asset farming stage right now. You know, ideally, you want your players to be worth more at the end of the year, the ones that are actually on contract. You want the ones who are on rookie contracts to develop. You know, I certainly see Gradey has taken a step this year relative to the player he was last year. Hopefully, he can take another step next year. You know, the game hasn't slowed down for him completely, but let's not forget he had 27 points last game. You know, so he has good moments and bad moments, but I think his bad moments are getting better, and I think his good moments are getting better. And if Jacoby's going to follow the same trajectory, well, then now you have, you know, Gradey, Ochai plus Jacoby. That's like three shooting, you know, like guys who provide spacing and a little bit of two-way potential as well, not to mention a little bit of secondary playmaking. I think you're in a good place, right? And then you get Jonathan Mobo, potentially a center in the draft or a backup guard in the draft. We'll see, man. But I think like overall, I think the Raptors, if they play their cards right over the next 7-8 months, could probably be like home court advantage next year.
Did Davion play himself into another contract tonight?
In one game? No. But he had a good game.
I know. We talked about, you know, certain players that are not going to be in the league next year. And there were a couple of moments there that, okay, I could see why he was drafted and not at his number. But his defense was impeccable tonight. And I think the refs did him dirty on a couple of plays. No?
I think he reaches a lot, and that can sometimes create like a bit of a bad situation for him, unfortunately, where the refs are forced to make a decision. And unfortunately, he's often guarding stars, and he's not going to get the benefit of the whistle against stars sometimes. Those are not my rules. I did not invent those rules, right? But at some point, like, yeah, you have to be conservative with your hands when you're guarding a star player like Jalen Brunson, especially one who is pretty good at drawing contact. Like, this is a scouting report on Jalen Brunson is he's excellent at baiting calls, right? And he gets them because he's a little guy. You know
I don't
mean?
like it, but it's true.
100% it's true. Like he's great. How many times have you seen Jalen Brunson just fling his head back into a defender who he's got in jail, and then boom, you know, it's like two free throws. He's a free throw merchant. But you know, these are the rules. He's navigating within the rules. He's a vertically challenged and undersized guard who's learned to manipulate the refs, and it's a skill. You know, don't hate the player, hate the game, right?
Well,
Anyways,
I mean,
man.
you know, James Harden was the master at that, and I'll leave it at this. The Raptors have a very distinct possibility to do what a lot of us think they should do. There are some players, and I get it. They might not give us a first-round draft pick, a la Bruce Brown. But we have some players on our team that play hard. We have some players on our team that generally love each other and play for each other. And the one thing I will say, it's a joy to watch a team, even in despair, still enjoying the game of basketball. And I hope that maybe about 7 or 8 guys stay on the team and we surround our team with players that fit and mainly can shoot. And I think that's the number one thing I'm seeing with this team. Too many times I'm seeing some guys from other teams just hitting a back-breaking three, and I'm looking from our players so many times. So I'll leave it at that. I'll probably call in another time. Love what you're doing, Robin. Yo, Raptor Nation, stay tight. The
All right,
best is
man.
yet to
Peace.
come. Peace.
Thanks. Okay. Why am I laggy again? I don't get it. I finally hooked up a 50-foot Ethernet cable. I know Ethernet cables can be, hit or miss, but I have a wired connection now. I'm not even seeing the little 3-bar thing that I usually see, but I'm still being a little bit laggy today, and I don't get it. I just don't. And the best computer that I have. Okay. Severe ankle sprains can also cause Liz Frank injuries. I don't know if this is one, but it's the first time I've heard Scotty saying he couldn't feel his foot. Not good at all. Okay. I'm trying to remember back to when I sprained my ankle, and I'm going to tell you, like I said, the exact same thing. It's not that I couldn't feel my foot. There was just a surging amount of pain. And just because he grabbed the center of his foot, go back and check all his injuries. Where did he grab? Almost always he grabs the same place. So I don't think there's any reason to worry about this. Obviously, first of all, you're not a doctor. You're not his doctor. You're not the team doctor. I'm not a doctor. Nobody here is qualified to be giving medical diagnosis of a player that you're not currently evaluating. Number one. Number two, if you do think it's a Liz Frank injury and you want to spend the entire night wondering if Scotty Barnes is going to be out for 12 months, does it benefit you in any way to go to sleep with that thought, right? That your star player is going to be out for this long? Because I'll tell you right now, that will 100% signal the tank, right? So Liz Frank injuries are extremely rare. I don't know why they've become so buzzy and talked about these days, but certainly prior to Chet getting the Liz Frank injury, it was rarely ever talked about. I can't remember how many there have been in basketball. There haven't been that many. Okay. So there you go. Prayers up to SB. We're talking about an organization that worked wonders with Kawhi. Okay, I sort of resent this, talk about Scotty Barnes being injury prone. He's not injury prone. He's just had some phenomenally bad luck. Okay. Just like RJ Barrett is not injury prone because Jonas Valanciunas took out his shoulder, right? Like, it's just, yeah, it is what it is. SB4 in good hands. Well, the Raptors have been the most injured team in the league this year. What does that tell you? I think Darko is more trapped in than some fans watching a TV, more tapped in than some fans watching a TV. Sure, exactly. Like, anyway, the courage to be disliked. Fourth quarter gang, I got a little bit of a parting message for you on this one. To those who don't know, the fourth quarter gang are the people that are finishing the year strong. If you want to join the fourth quarter gang, entry is free. It costs $0 to join. It's just a momentum and a movement that for the next 22 days, you're going to meet the new year as the version of yourself that in most situations you would try to start the new year as, which is to say, you set the resolution right now. You're going to go into the new year with the gym routine. You're going to go into the new year having fixed your diet, right? That way you get to start 2025 right. I'll say something that, I've been searching for a really long time for what is the hallmark of a happy life and what is the hallmark of a miserable life. I've come up with a few that I think are pretty much non-negotiable. If you want to be miserable in life, invest in what other people think of you a lot. care excessively about what other people think of you. Try to walk into every room saying, are they watching me? Are they seeing me? What will people say about me? That's one thing you should definitely consider doing if you want to be miserable. Okay? That's one thing. Number 2, refuse to change. Just refuse any feedback that threatens your status quo. Any habit that's a new habit is a bad habit automatically because you're not used to it. You don't like it. Refuse to change your habits. Refuse to change anything. Those are 2 definite things. Number 3, lie. Lie constantly. Lie to yourself, lie to others. At some point, you'll lie so much you won't even be able to tell what the difference is, right? Those are 3 things that I can say consistently have held true for every person that I know that's miserable. They care a lot what other people think, they are not adaptable, and they lie constantly. So, ergo, if you want to be happy, do the opposite. Do the opposite. If you want to be happy, care what you think. Learn to trust what you think. Number 2, and certainly this is important, don't lie. Tell the truth. Own up to it. If you messed up, just own up to it and just say, "My bad, I messed up. Promise you, no one's shooting you." It's not going to be. Well, I can't promise you no one's going to shoot you, but it's usually not as bad as you think. And number 3, like don't sit there caring what other people think about you. Care what you think about you, right? So, and adapt. Adapt. When someone gives you a new idea, even if it's something completely different, you've had this brand of cereal your whole life, and you're like, how will I change my brand of cereal? Easy. It's easy. Okay. Dr. Michelle. Rob, with Scotty pretty much confirmed out for the next 2 months, do you see the Raptors making the play-in or not? Dr. Michelle, I do not know if you are a real account. No idea. But he's not confirmed out 2 months. Ankle sprains are not going to put, I don't think the ankle sprain is going to put him out 2 months. If it's a Liz Frank injury, it's much, much more than 2 months. So I'm not sure if you are a real person or if you are a real doctor or if that is a stock image, but nevertheless. Okay. We have one more caller. Jay, I'm going to apologize in advance. We got about 5 minutes to go. I'm not feeling very well today. So just want to let you on. What's up, Jay?
Yeah, just quick. So do you think that this injury with Scotty, they're gonna kind of milk it or not? Because I know that last person said 2 months, but like, just with their history of just not really giving us being forthcoming with injuries, you think that they're gonna kind of milk this kind of to support their tank and all that? I know they can't milk it for 2-3 months unless it's something more serious. But what do you think?
Milking it. I mean, I think they can be cautious with it, like they can be cautious with it. So Scotty's going to have to trust them to some extent to handle his injury. Once he misses the 65 game cutoff, there's no longer any more contractual issues about him playing, not playing, etc. He's signed for a max next year. It can't change to a super max anymore. So I think it almost might be a bit of a blessing in disguise for the Raptors tank people. Obviously, you don't never want your star player to get injured. You know what I mean? But yeah, if it's a 2-week timeline, they can milk it to 3 weeks. I don't think you're going to be able to hold him out 2 months if it's a 2-week prognosis, though.
Yeah, at that point, 3 weeks, I don't know what the record would be because, like, this whole time I know you were projecting what the record would be with Scotty. So imagine now without Scotty, what that's going to be. So by the time he comes back, it's going to be too little, too late, and then they're going to have to figure something out. And then around then, it'll be close to the trade deadline too. So
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, he does make players better. So if you are hoping to trade some of these players, they're going to look worse without him. And you're also like, typically, you're not necessarily in the greatest negotiation position when everyone knows you have to sell. And you're in the best situation when you can go either way. That's the most powerful leverage position you want to be. So when you go and say, "Hey, Lakers, you're interested in Chris Boucher, you're interested in Bruce Brown," you don't want to be begging them to take those guys. You want to be able to, stand firm. You want to have multiple options. And the better you play, the better they play, the more options you're going to have, the worse the other team plays. Unfortunately for the Raptors right now, they're like, if Scotty is out for any extended period of time, like the writing is on the wall. Now, I'm not even, and I mean, I don't mean to say this as like showing a lack of faith in the team, right? Certainly, Jonathan Mobley could step in, replicate some of what he does defensively. I think it's hard to imagine a situation where they start winning games without him, but maybe they can. Who am I to say that RJ Barrett and Gradey Dick and Jacoby Walter and potentially Emmanuel quickly coming back maybe next week, can't spark something? I have no idea. I have no
Yeah.
idea. But
Um,
I still expect them to beat like the really bad teams though.
yeah. On the
Yeah.
bright side, this is the last thing. I know we gotta go. Last thing, at least on the bright side, we'll get to see Jonathan Mobile. I'm assuming 100% he's gonna step into that position. So like at least on the bright side, we get to see a little bit more extended minutes with him.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I believe that Jonathan Moba deserves a lot more minutes. And I'm really curious to see if, with the added playmaking load, if he can't start like putting up some crazy numbers. Like I think he's the best bet for rookies to get like a triple double this year.
I agree with
Yeah.
you, and just give him that time, and we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, bro.
All right, man. Peace.
Take care, man.
Thank you. Steve from Taiwan, Steve Taiwan. Thank you so much. Why keep getting robbed by the refs? What the F? Yet the association don't do shit, man. Man, I had to take 4-hour leaves just to support my beloved Toronto Raptors. Taiwan hardcore fan. Yo, that's awesome, man. Thank you so much, first of all, for the super chat. I genuinely appreciate all of our fans from Taiwan, which includes Teacher Mike, which includes Daryl, which includes Bill. There's a few of you, which is really cool. And yeah, thank you for this donation. Do we keep getting robbed by the refs? Yeah, I think we do. And maybe, just maybe, if we end up with Cooper Flag or Jaeger Demon or something like that, we can write the Refs Association a nice little thank you letter and just say, hey, thanks for this year, but please, please, please don't do it again. Please don't do it again. Get it out of this year and then give us a favorable whistle next year. I don't know. Does it matter that the vast majority of refs are American and we're the lone Canadian team? I don't know. Maybe that matters a little bit. Ash saying, just to let you know, Davion Mitchell will move to Taiwan next year. Okay. Yeah. The Davion Mitchell saga on X has been very weird. There's been like a whole bunch of people that have been suggesting that I have burner accounts. Every single time someone agrees with me, there's apparently burner accounts, and I have burner accounts, and Davion is some saint who can do no wrong. I genuinely like Davion. I hate to break it to you. This is not going to become a Fred VanVleet or Dennis Schroeder thing. I don't have any issues with Davion. My only issue is how he's been covered so far and how he's played so far. That's my only issues. You're never going to hear me saying I don't like him as a person or anything like that. No matter what he said to me or anything like that. And this is something that I've always said. I don't base how I feel about people based on how they feel about me. It's never happened. Earlier this offseason, someone in Scotty's stream said, hey, have you heard of Pensar Basketball? And he said, of course I've heard of Pensar Basketball. They're awesome. Like they're always showing love. They're always supporting us. Well, what if Scotty had said, yeah, I've heard of Pensar Basketball. They're trash. Would it have changed how I felt about Scotty? Hell no. 0% impact. I do not base how I feel about people based on how they feel about me. So that means that the person I admire most could tell me that they hate my guts and they don't want me to admire them, and I would still admire them. I have no association to it. It doesn't matter to me. So I'm rooting for Davion to turn his season around. At the end of the day, he is a player on the Toronto Raptors. And somebody sent me an email, and they've asked not to have their name, so I won't share their name at all. But what the hell? What the fuck? Yo, spam be going crazy. Okay, hang on. So they sent me a Bible verse. Now I'm not promoting scripture or promoting a religion here, but it is, the general message was that you should lead with love, right? So if I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and I have all faith as to remove mountains, but I have not love, I am nothing. And it just goes on of that sort. And, clearly some of you are familiar with the Bible, and some of you may even be Christian, and whatever your, religion, or pretty much, I don't think there's any religion that doesn't say lead with love. And so I've had to think about that a lot, and say, if this many people had an issue with how I covered Davion, is there something that I'm doing that's wrong in this situation? Is my tone offsetting, off-putting or something? So I want to lay it out very clear here. Not rooting against Davion. I get zero pleasure from seeing him fail at all. Don't want him to fail. Want him to succeed, very much so. And I hope he continues to play like he did tonight. Vanessa Autumn saying, Robert, I just wanted to say that you should be less toxic on Twitter as you made Davion delete his account. God is good, is 100% real. Amen. Good job. Okay, so to be clear about one thing, I do not take accountability for what other people, and this is me being very firm with you and anyone who wants me to feel bad that Davion Mitchell deleted his account. Number one, he's a grown man. He's not a child. I'm not bullying a child, and I'm not a bully. Number one. Number two, what he does is not my concern. I did not target him. I did not tag him. He talked about taking my girl, and I have let it go because I don't give a shit. Okay? I am covering his game. If he plays poorly, I'm going to say he played poorly. If he has an issue with me posting his stats, put up better stats. Okay? I don't subscribe to this type of thinking. If this is your genuine thought, I'm just going to tell you I disagree with you. Okay? I'm a human being too. Okay? And this is my job. I've made it my job to give fair, honest insights on the Toronto Raptors, which means if Scotty played like ass in the first half, which I said he did, then Scotty played like ass in the first half. And if Scotty Barnes has a problem with me saying he played like ass in the first half, cool. Point to why I'm wrong. That's it. That's all I want to hear. Don't give me this stuff, right? So I don't think, look, my genuine advice to Davion in the comment section was, please stop. I think don't respond anymore to this. It's not a good look for you. Other GMs are not going to look favorably at you going back and forth with some random fan or even, a content creator on X. It doesn't look good. Number two, I'll say something that I shared with a friend of mine about this. I think it was Coach Mo or Vince. I can't remember who I was having a conversation with, but I said, look, the NBA, being an NBA player is at least partially a political job. Being an NBA coach is partially political. It's very important, okay, to realize that Fred VanVleet took a lot of slings and a lot of arrows from this channel and this content creator in his last year here. And frankly, in his last 2 years here, okay? Vanessa Autumn, to be fair, you were using burner accounts, Rob. All good, though. I was using burner accounts? No, I wasn't. I've never used a burner account. So you can go fuck yourself. Banned. Peace. Never used a burner account. I don't need a burner account. Burner accounts are for two people, celebrities and cowards, and I am neither. Okay? Don't ever accuse me of using a burner account. As I was saying, you stay true with yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you lie enough. Like, I tell you, you will have a difficult time even convincing yourself you're telling the truth. Crazy ass people. Point being, I don't believe, I believe that every NBA player has a political duty to some extent. You know what I mean? You got to say some things. You got to be nice, play nice with the media. How many times do you think Scotty or Pascal or one of these players came out to one of those media scrums after a writer wrote a really bad piece about them, like talking about their struggles? How many times do you think, if all bets are off, money's off the table, politics are off the table, you don't think Scotty Barnes and Doug Smith would have a very weird conversation? Of course they would. But Scotty's smart. Scotty's not an idiot. Scotty knows the game. Scotty's been around the game since he was 14 years old. He's basically been groomed to become a superstar. So he understands that he needs to keep, and it's funny because he can't even lie very well, right? So he tells the truth even when he lies. But the point here is that it is a political thing, and players like Malachi Flynn, unfortunately, whose fathers go on X, and players like Marvin Bagley, who are significantly more talented, whose fathers make like very, very public statements about their role and stuff like that. These become baggage, and they're almost never looked at favorably. Nothing that Davion Mitchell has done over the last 3 days with me on X has done him any favors. And my advice to him at every step of the way was stop. Don't do this. I didn't come at him. I didn't tag him. I didn't post at him. I was talking about him. I made a video about him. Did I cross the line? I don't think I did. I presented my fair views, and you're not going to convince me otherwise. But what you are going to hear from me over and over is that I am rooting for the guy, that I respect the guy, and I've always respected him. Okay. And I've always treated him with respect. The one time where I will agree 100% that I crossed the line was where I laughed off the idea of Chill saying they let him score on the panel, where I laughed it off and I said, he's not scoring. I was trying to be funny. Clearly, it worked, but maybe that was disrespectful. Other than that, no, I haven't crossed any lines here. And yeah. Ash saying usually it's the bad players that bark a lot on Twitter. Well, I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily true. Kevin Durant barks a lot on Twitter. I think you have to be pretty great to talk a lot of shit on Twitter, to be honest. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I think you do. And I think people need to grow a little bit of a thicker skin. Davion Mitchell has heard a lot worse than what I've said about him. He's been called a super bad draft pick. When the Sacramento Kings picked him, I think universally that draft pick was met with a lot of criticism. There's been plenty of criticism of him in Sacramento. There's been plenty of criticism across the league, calling him a bust, etc. This is not new. Okay. My issue, as I'll state it one more time, my issue has never been with Davion. My issue is with people who want to pretend he's something that he's not. Now, if he becomes the thing that you're pretending he is, I'll be happy as a Raptor fan. That's all I got to say about it, right? Yeah. This is weird. I don't got Davion making a difference either way for him to be getting all this energy. He has a right to defend himself just like anybody else does. It's a free country, and he can do whatever he wants. I just don't think that people, what I was saying was the politics, right? Fred VanVleet brilliantly went on a press tour after his 2020 game against Charlotte, at which point he had turned his season around over a series of like 10, 11 games. So he drew attention to himself when he was playing well. Davion Mitchell is doing the exact opposite, which is he was drawing attention to himself when he was playing poorly, which actually kind of makes me respect him even more, because that was like, oh, this guy's just a genuine dude. Maybe that's why everybody likes him so much, right? So my point is, just because you're a genuine dude, hell, I'm a genuine dude, doesn't mean you're always doing yourself favors when you speak. And I don't necessarily think Davion clapping back at me for posting his shooting splits is doing him any favors, because unfortunately a lot of other accounts picked up on this beef and posted about it, and that's terrible for him, because NBA GMs are on X, scouts are on X. Maybe they're not paying attention to you. Now they're paying attention to you. You don't want them to be paying attention to you. You're shooting 25% from three. But if you're going to play it like you did tonight, maybe you do want them playing. Look, he's certainly not the worst backup guard in the league. There are worse players than him in the league. And I don't think that he's complete net negative. He does a lot of good things for the Raptors. And tonight he played really well. And most importantly, with Scotty out, I assume that he will start. So he's going to get the starting opportunity. There's no other point guard on the roster that can start in his place until Emmanuel quickly comes back. So he'll be back in the starting lineup, which probably opens up some more backup minutes for Jamal Shed. So the trickle down of, Jamal Shed. Jamal Shed had I want to say 20, 10, and 6 game in the G League on 5 for 14 shooting just a couple of days ago. It's cool. Yeah. Anyways, I'm saying, like, why do you even talk about Davion? He's Davion. Think it's a bad look. So you're saying that I'm wrong for talking about a player who's playing well or playing poorly. Look, man, we cover all players on our team. We talk about the players who play. Some warrant more, some warrant less. Okay, we talk about Chris Boucher. Is Chris Boucher consequential to the finality of the team? Not really. We talk about Kelly Olynyk. Is Kelly Olynyk going to be on this team when they win a championship? Probably not. We've talked about Jakob Poeltl. We talked about RJ Barrett. We talked about everybody, man. We try to be fair. If ever I've not been fair, I'll usually try to reflect on my behavior and try to get more fair. But yes, I have listened to blatant homerism a lot in my life. I've listened to a lot of blatant bias in my life. It's been very frustrating to listen to. when Jack Armstrong was covering Vince Carter, it was very frustrating to listen to as a child, knowing that he kind of had that sort of energy towards Vince. When Leo Routens covered certain people, I thought that was a little unfair. So generally speaking, I try to not be biased as hell about these kind of things. Yeah. JD's thing obviously thinks your channel makes a difference if he's hurt by youth truth telling. Well, that's the cool thing, is that we built this channel to be able to defend against slander. When it, like, weirdly enough, we've done so much slandering ourselves. And I think that brings me to sort of the final point. I made a Scotty Barnes video today, which remind me not to do that again, right? People said, Rob, you sure it's not a jinx? Because if you remember the last 2 years, every time I make a Scotty Barnes video, his shooting percentage goes down into the toilet. I thought I'll reverse jinx it this year, because this year he's not shooting that well. So he's shooting 30.3% coming into this game. Maybe I'll make the video now. I wanted to make a Scotty video anyway, and then boom, he gets injured. So yeah, maybe we just don't make Scotty Barnes videos anymore. It's just bad luck at this point. But what I wanted to say was, at no point in the last 3.5 years as a content creator, whether you know me from Facebook, whether you know me from Raptors Digest, whether you know me from Basketball Zone, wherever you found me, whether you know me from To The Point, or whether you know me from the panel, or whether you know me from here, or whether you know me from Bleacher Report, if you've been following me for a really long time, wherever you come at me, come to here, whatever road brought you here, from Instagram to X to Facebook, whatever. What I'm going to say is that my goal with the Raptors has been and always remains the same. I want this team to win. Okay. I want this team to build around their best player. I want them to build around their best culture setter. I want this team to just be good. Okay. Generally speaking, I want this team to be good. Right. And I think for 2.5 to 3 years, I watched what I thought was the best player on this team, or, the guy who was clearly going to be the best player on this team, be used as a burn cutter, be used as a screen and roll guy, to be used as a hustle big. And I didn't want that to happen. And so that I fought very, very hard against that. And unfortunately, if you're going to explain why someone is better than somebody else, you have to talk about why the person he's better than is not good. When I wanted Scotty to run point, as he's been doing the last 10, 11 games, I obviously had to talk about why Fred VanVleet wasn't an optimal point guard. When I wanted Scotty to have the ball more, I had to talk about why some of the reps that are going to Pascal belong to Scotty. And that was a really tough pill for a lot of people to swallow, because you're talking about a player who's supposed to usurp an all NBA forward in the lineup. But I'm like, yo, the numbers are not showing it, but these reps are so important for him. And I watched 2 years of Scotty Barnes' development go by the wayside, in my opinion, so that people could feel better about the championship core that they won the first championship with, not realizing that most of the championship core had already been parsed out. And what you were holding on to right now was nostalgia, right? So this year, Scotty clears pretty much Pascal. He clears a lot of those conversations. I hope he gets back healthy, but this was always the vision. And in the end, are you enjoying this team? Do you enjoy it? Has it been fun? Do you enjoy the vibes? Is it about the best culture we've had in about 6 years? Hell yes, 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 across the board. May not be very good right now, but it's getting there. It's going to get there. And it's largely because I have a checklist of what your star player or best player needs to be. And one of those things is accountable. Another one of those things is selfless. Another one of those things is coachable. Another one of those things is defense first, or care about defense at least. You're never going to win a championship if your star player doesn't care about defense, doesn't care about his teammates. And so it didn't really make sense for me necessarily to even go down the road of Pascal as number one option. I don't really see it. I'm not hating on anybody. I just want the Raptors to win. I have a different understanding of the game. I have a different way of looking at the game, but it's never been to any, when I said Gary is not a good defender, that was never to malign Gary. It was never to, tear Gary down. It was just to point out the obvious thing that people were missing with the steals. So my only goal at this point is the Raptors' next championship. I am in, 100% on the same page as Masai, Bobby, Darko, etc. I see it exactly the same way. Very rarely have I found myself really, really hating on a player and then they kept that player. So I think to some extent, I value similar things that they do when they're constructing a basketball team. I may have a different idea about who Jakob Poeltl was 2 years ago. I may have a different idea about some draft picks. Maybe I was a little bit higher on Ibnisi and stuff like that. But overall, I get the vision. I get the long-term vision for this team. And if ever, I've offended you by criticizing one of your favorite players, please believe me, it has never been a hateful situation, right? It's been for the long-term development of this team. And that development is not just Scotty, it's Jacoby, it's Gradey, it's Jonathan Mobo. It's these guys that need those reps, need that nurture, need that development, which is why I'm very, very happy to have guys like Kelly Olynyk and Garrett Temple on this team, because those guys need mentors and veterans too. So onward and upward, the Raptors have, I guess, pray. Maybe, we can talk about prayer. We just pray that Scotty Barnes is not out for too long. But I'll tell you what, like, he gets better every time he goes out. Every injury makes him better because he continues to develop. The Raptors are not wasting any time. When Jacoby was out, he was developing. When RJ was out, he was developing. We're seeing players get better and better and better. And at some point, you break through. Okay. Now, Darko said it. I'll say it again. I'll say it here too. Okay. First, you have to learn how to practice. Then you have to learn how to play. Then you have to learn how to win. I think the Raptors have learned how to practice. I think they're still learning how to play. At some point, they're going to have to learn how to win, though. And when you learn how to win, the floodgates, all that development is just going to rise up. And then you're going to be blowing teams out and you're going to be sitting pretty. All right. Okay. So I want to give a big shout out to Recruiter Dude, Rymeister 02, who sent 3 super chats. Said $200 pays out $1,600 on this team making plan. We don't support gambling on this website, but you gave a super chat. So what I'll say to that is, please gamble responsibly, and I'm not going to get involved with that. And Steve, with this huge super chat, thank you so much. Appreciate you always. And Rymeister again. And do you think this? That's slick. Okay, so unfortunately, because you've already mentioned that this is about gambling, I can't necessarily give you you should make this bet or that bet, but I would tell you that if Scotty is out for any extended period of time, I don't think they will. No. There's obviously like they'll make it by default scenario of this. The schedule does ease up a lot later, but I did the math on this literally 2 days ago. I think there was a video in which I mathematically calculated which teams are supposed to beat and lose, which teams are supposed to beat, which teams are supposed to lose to, etc. So, yeah. Raptorized with another dumb comment. I would argue Scotty's development has taken a step back this year. Sorry. This year should have been about him playing with force. Instead, he thinks he's a point guard as his primary function. He is a point guard. You have literally, you have said nothing intelligent for 2 hours. 2 hours. 2 hours. Bro. Unbelievable. Are you the same Raptorized that's been terrorizing the comment section in all places all the time? Yo, he has not taken a step back. He has taken a massive step forward. The fact that you can't see it is not really anyone's concern but your own. Okay. Let's debate. Okay. I'm going to tell you a nice rule that I have. You want to call in and debate? No. That will be entertaining for absolutely nobody. Okay. You are not equipped to have this debate. Number one. Number two, I once heard that you should not debate fools because those from a distance can't tell who's who. Because you will have some people that will clip that and say, that dude cooked, but you ain't cooked nothing. You cook water. All right. Peace out.